If all this was to start yesterday and it hasn't, what do you think is the reason for the delay?
I understand that there's thunderstorms over to the west of where they were to shoot today. Not only that, there's some very brave, or some would say stupid, people that are up there at the moment and who've moved into the areas where the horses were to be shot. I mean, some of these people have been campaigning for 20 years, Alan. This is not something that's going to go away. These people, the mountain people, will not give up. And, I can go back to the days when cattle were confiscated by government of the day, and the democratic system was bastardised by a Liberal government at that time, where they confiscated 1,000 head of cattle and charged the landholders $10 a head to get them back, which was the equivalent of about a 3-bedroom house in value at that time. So, this is the second time where government's process of democracy has been bastardised by people with a political agenda which is ideologically driven.
Absolutely right. Just before you go, who is it in the state government's wild horse management plan who says that this aerial shooting is done in a humane way? We can't find anybody that's, apart from Steve Wan, who has been backing this ever since the election. He's been backing aerial shooting, and he obviously knows absolutely nothing about it. And from the comments he's made, but he knows a fraction more than the Premier does. We've heard his interviews, and he knows absolutely nothing. And the problem is they're being driven by the bureaucracy. I mean, Atticus Fleming, who's the director in charge of all of this, is the person who's driving it. And you'd have to question his judgment as to whether he's prepared to go ahead and implement this shooting program without verifying the numbers. The numbers are blatantly wrong. And anybody that lives there, and I ride through this country, Alan, 5 days a week. I know it like the back of my hand. I know every damn horse up there just about. And there are nowhere near the numbers they're talking about. They'd be lucky to 3,000 horses there. And that's coincidentally the figure that's mentioned in the Barlow legislation, the Brumby bill. Yes,
that they allowed for a sustainable number of 3,000 horses to be left in the park as part of the cultural history of Australia. And the bill acknowledges, and so does his second reading speech, acknowledge the fact that these horses are an important part of our cultural history.
Absolutely. Just before you go, what's happened to Brumby running, where the wild horses used to be roped in and broken in? I mean, that's been done for 150 years. 150 years.
Alan, you can't write this sort of script. It was the National Parks and Wildlife Service that banned Brumby running in the first place, hence the numbers grew. If they'd left the locals to manage the situation in the first place, and ongoing, and with a good management plan involving the locals, we would not be dealing with this issue today, and we certainly wouldn't be involved in the massacre of all of these horses leaving foals to rot and lost and be eaten by dogs. I mean, this is just the most barbaric thing you can imagine a government ever doing.
Where are the Liberal opposition in New South Wales? I mean, there's an outfit called the Sustainability Brumby Group, which argues the state government's count is seriously inflated. In other words, there aren't as many Brumbies as the government estimates. Many are saying that there should be a fresh count using infrared technology and drones. Where is the Liberal opposition here?
Well, to the credit of Bronnie Taylor and Wes Fang and others in the upper house, and also the Animal Justice Party, I mean, these people have been speaking out against this in the upper house and also in the estimates committees. They've been speaking out and pleading with government to undertake a correct count. Not only that, to be scientific and genuinely scientific with the management of the park. Not only horses, Alan, this is to do with fire, this is to do with weed control, this is to do with the management of the water.
Yep.
These issues are being poorly managed in the Kosciuszko National Park, and I've been saying this for 50 years, that the management of the park is based on ideological agenda rather than a scientific agenda. If the science was accurate, they wouldn't be managing the park, and the failures wouldn't be occurring that are occurring now.